Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you get smart, fast, without feeling like you're drowning in information.
Exactly. We do the digging so you get the highlights.
And today, we're looking at something pretty exciting.
Huh?
All the free tools out there for, well, making your own games and simulations.
Yeah, it's surprisingly doable now, but also we're going to broaden out a bit, right?
Right. We'll also cover this huge landscape of open source stuff. Tools for building your own sort of personal knowledge library, finding cool tech, that kind of thing.
It's like a two-part journey. First, making stuff interactive. Second, managing and discovering information in a totally new way.
You should definitely expect some aha moments today, realizing just how much is available for free.
Definitely.
Okay, let's jump into the game development side first. It feels like something only big studios could do traditionally.
Yeah, that used to be the perception. But the sources we looked at show a totally different picture now. Loads of free tools have popped up.
Democratized it, you could say.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's not just one type of tool either. There's a whole range.
What are the main categories?
Well, first, the game engines themselves. You've got things like Godot engine.
Oh yeah, I heard of that one. It's open source.
Completely free and open source. Does 2D, 3D. Really powerful. Great community, too.
Okay, what else?
Then there's GDevelop. That one's interesting because it's a no-code platform, so more visual.
So good for people who aren't comfortable with coding.
Exactly. Artists, designers, they can jump right in. And even the big names like Unity and Unreal Engine.
They have free options.
Yep. Unity has a free personal version as long as you're making under $100 a year from your game.
Wow, okay.
And Unreal Engine is free until you hit like $1 million in revenue.
$1 million? Serious?
Seriously. So very accessible to get started and even succeed commercially before you pay anything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not just the big 3D engines, though, is it?
No. For interactive stories, there's Twine. Really simple, but powerful for branching narratives. And for absolute beginners, maybe even kids, you've got Scratch. Block-based coding. Super easy entry point.
So tons of ways in, depending on what you want to do in
Yeah.
your skill level.
Exactly. And it's not just the engines. The ecosystem around them is free, too.
Meaning?
Graphics tools, art tools. You've got GIMP, which is like a free Photoshop alternative.
Huh?
Krita, which is fantastic for digital painting. Really tailored for artists.
Right.
And Blender. I mean, Blender is incredible. 3D modeling, animation, rendering. It does it all. And it's totally free.
Yeah, Blender's huge. What about simpler art styles?
Well, there's Piskel for online pixel art creation.
Yeah.
And Magic of Voxel for that voxel art look.
Okay, so visuals are covered. What about sound?
Yeah.
Music?
Yep, free tools there too. Audacity is the standard for recording and editing audio.
Use that one. Pretty straightforward.
It is. For actually making music, there's LMMS Linux Multimedia Studio, though it runs on Windows and Mac too. It's a free digital audio workstation. And for quick sound effects, especially retro ones, there's Chiptone. It's a little web-based generator, fun to play with.
So you really can get a whole suite of tools without spending anything.
Pretty much everything you need to make a basic game, yeah.
Okay, so someone's listening thinking, right, tools exist, but how do I start?
Yeah.
Does the guide give any, practical first steps?
It does, and it starts sensibly asking you to think about coding.
How comfortable you are with it?
Exactly. If you want no coding, then GDevelop or maybe Construct or Scratch are your best bets.
Okay.
If you're okay with some coding, maybe learning some scripting, then Godot and Unity are great choices. They mix visual tools with code.
And for the code-heavy route?
Then you might look at Unreal Engine with its C++R, or even, try building something more custom with libraries, but that's more advanced.
Right, so choose your path first, then what?
Then set up your workspace, your development environment.
Sounds technical.
It's really just about being organized. Install the engine you chose, make a main folder for your game.
And inside that folder?
Good practice is to have subfolders, like assets for your art and sound files, docs maybe for notes, builds for the actual exported game later on.
Makes sense. Keep things tight.
So crucially, the guide really pushes using version control right away, like Git.
Even if I'm just working by myself?
Absolutely. Use something like GitHub Desktop if the command line feels scary. It's like an undo button for your entire project.
Okay. So you can roll back if you break something.
Exactly. Or try out ideas on a separate branch without messing up your main working version. It's just good habit. Fundamental, really.
Okay, got it. The guide gives an example project too, right? Using Godot.
Yeah, a simple first project walkthrough. Download Godot, install it, make a new project.
Build what?
A basic 2D platformer.
Mm-hmm.
Get a character sprite on screen.
Okay.
Make it move left, right, jump. Design a super simple level. Add collision so it interacts with the ground.
So it doesn't fall through.
Right.
Right.
And then a simple win condition, like reaching a certain point.
That actually sounds achievable. It breaks it down.
That's the goal. Show its manageable steps, not some giant impossible task.
So once you've done that first little project,
Yeah.
what's the suggested learning path?
Stick with the official tutorials for your engine first. They're usually pretty good.
Okay.
Then try remaking classic games. Pong, Breakout, Space Invaders, stuff like that. You learn core mechanics.
That's a smart idea. You have a clear goal.
Exactly. Then maybe join a game jam.
Game jams.
Yeah.
Like on itch.io.
Yeah, itch.io jams is the place to look. Short events, usually a weekend. Build a game based on a theme. Intense, but you learn incredibly fast.
And meet people.
Definitely. And finally, share what you make. Get feedback. That's vital.
Right. What about workflows? Does it talk about managing a project, especially if you're solo or in a tiny team?
It does. For solo devs, it's about planning, but also prototyping quickly. Get something playable fast.
Iterate.
Yeah, build, test, tweak, repeat. Don't try to make it perfect from the start.
And for small teams?
More coordination needed, obviously. Tools like Trello for tasks can help.
Keep track of who's doing what.
Right. Maybe aim for weekly builds. Everyone plays it, gives feedback. Use Discord for quick chat.
And GitHub for the code, presumably.
Yeah, GitHub for sharing the actual code and managing different versions. Communication and organization are key.
Makes sense. Are there specific communities or resources it recommends checking out?
Loads. We mentioned itch.io for jams and assets. OpenGameArt is another great place for free art.
Okay.
For communities, the Lurgim Dev subreddit is huge and active.
Reddit got it.
There are Discord servers like the Game Dev League, and tons of great tutorials on YouTube. Brackeys is a classic recommendation, though they stopped making new videos.
It's still useful, though.
Oh yeah, the archives are gold.
Yeah.
And for specific engines like Godot, GDQuest has excellent tutorials.
Okay, so lots of places to learn and connect.
Definitely. The main message seems to be just start. Download something, try a tutorial.
Don't just think about it.
Right. Set a tiny goal first, like just get the character moving, celebrate that small win, join a community. The barrier is mostly just starting.
Okay, that covers the game dev side really well. Let's shift gears to the other big part. This ultimate open source personal library and discovery guide. Sounds extensive.
It really is. It's like moving from creating things to collecting, organizing, and discovering information and tools, all using open source methods.
So going beyond just finding free alternatives, more about control and exploration.
Exactly. Control over your own data, your own tools, and finding stuff that's maybe off the usual path. Niche tools, different ways of working.
It sounds potentially overwhelming, though. How does the guide break it down?
It uses categories, which helps a lot. The first one is archival and offline access.
Okay, what does that cover? Preserving things.
Pretty much. Tools to save information so you're not dependent on, say, a website staying online or a service continuing.
Like backing up your own code.
Yeah, so it mentions self-hosted Git platforms like Gitter, Gogs, or the community edition of GitLab.
So you run your own GitHub, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. Full control. And just basic Git clone for grabbing any public repo you want to keep locally.
Right.
And Git bundle to package a whole repo into a single file for offline storage. Super useful.
What about archiving websites or documents, not just code?
Yep. ArchiveBox is mentioned for that. You feed it URLs, it saves them locally in various formats, like your personal Wayback Machine.
Oh, cool.
And for documentation, tools like Sphinx and MKDocs let you build documentation sites that work offline.
And viewers for those.
Yeah, Zeal and Dash are offline documentation browsers. You download docsets for different languages and libraries. DevDocs is a web version that pulls lots together.
So you can look up programming stuff without needing internet.
Precisely. For personal knowledge management, like your own wiki, it suggests Bookstack, Outline, Documize, all self-hostable.
So you can build your own private knowledge base.
Exactly. It even mentions DocSearch for making your own docs searchable and gives that command line trick. cat repo-list.txt zargs-l1 git clone.
Right, to just batch download a list of Git repositories. Handy.
Very. The next category is alternative code hosting platforms.
So places other than GitHub or GitLab.com.
Yeah, highlighting the diversity out there. SourceHut is mentioned minimalist, uses email a lot.
Interesting.
Codeberg, a nonprofit host based in Germany, focused on open source. NotAbug.org is similar, strictly FOSS.
What about decentralized options?
Good question. Radical gets a mention. Peer-to-peer code hosting using IPFS, very cutting edge.
Wow.
Also Fossil SCM, it's a version control system, bug tracker, and wiki all in one executable file. Unique approach. And smaller community spots like TildeJIT, part of the Tildeverse, plus the idea of federated hosting like Codeberg Federation.
So different hosts could potentially talk to each other.
That's the idea, yeah, building a more resilient, interconnected network.
Okay, fascinating. What's next?
Unconventional development tools. This is where it gets kind of fun and niche.
Tools most people might not use daily.
Maybe not, but powerful. Like Jupyter Lite runs Jupyter Notebooks entirely in the browser. No backend needed.
Whoa,
WebAssembly, mostly. It's pretty neat. Then there's Radar 2 and Ghidra.
those sound serious.
They are reverse engineering frameworks
Yeah.
for really deep software analysis. Think security research, understanding malware.
Gotcha. Not for everyday web dev, maybe?
Probably not. But also tools for streamlining workflows. Task runners like TaskFile and just simpler alternatives to Makefiles.
Okay.
Nushell, a modern shell that thinks in terms of structured data, not just text.
Interesting.
Dirin for managing environment variables per project. Navi, an interactive command line cheat sheet tool.
That sounds useful.
It is. Brute for navigating file systems differently. And Git Query, which lets you use SQL-like syntax to search Git history.
Wow, okay. Lots of power tools there.
Definitely. Then there's a section on niche languages and frameworks.
Exploring beyond the usual suspect.
Totally. Languages like NIM and Zig, focused on performance and safety. Idris, which has dependent types for really strong correctness guarantees. More academic, maybe?
Uh-huh.
Hare, Janet, Carp, Decent, newer, more experimental languages. Even mentions Forth, a classic stack-based language.
Going way back.
Yeah, and Urweb for web development with strong type safety. Plus, a link to the Isolang's wiki.
Esoteric languages, the weird ones.
Exactly, the ones designed to be challenging or just plain weird. Fun rabbit hole.
I bet. Okay, what about infrastructure? DevOps stuff.
Big section on that. Infrastructure, DevOps, orchestration. Lots of self-hosted options here.
Like running your own cloud services.
Sort of. Coolify lets you build your own Heroku-like POS. NixOS for building systems declaratively and reproducibly.
Heard MixOS steep learning curve, apparently.
Can be, but very powerful. Then CI/CD tools. Woodpecker CI, Drone CI, alternatives to Jenkins or GitLab CI maybe.
For automating builds and deployments?
Exactly. And GitOps tools like Argo CD and Flux CD, which manage your infrastructure based on configs stored in Git.
That's a popular approach now.
Very much so. Networking things like Yggdrasil for encrypted mesh networks, IPFS cluster for managing distributed storage.
IPFS keeps popping up.
It's a key part of the decentralized web movement. Also, Nomad and Consul from HashiCorp for orchestration and service discovery alternative to Kubernetes in some cases.
Okay.
And even self-hosted package repositories like Verdaccio for NPM or Sonatype Nexus.
So you can host your own private packages.
Right. Control your dependencies.
There's a ton of tools. How do you even find relevant ones?
Well, that leads perfectly into the next section. Curated lists, search engines, and aggregators.
So meta resources.
Exactly, like the awesome self-hosted list on GitHub. Huge collection of software you can run yourself.
That sounds like gold.
It is. Alternative Dildo has an open source filter. Fediverse.party helps explore decentralized social networks. LibreOps, LibreLinks, lots of curated directories.
Okay, so lists are good. What about searching?
There's advanced search and obscure discovery. Suggests using privacy-focused meta-search engines like SirXN.
Run your own Google, kinda.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. It queries other engines for you.
Right.
Also mentions software heritage,
What's that?
an ambitious project archiving basically all publicly available source code. Huge historical resource.
Oh.
Public www lets you search the source code of websites. And it gives examples of advanced GitHub searches, finding projects by topic, language, recent activity.
Like topic.retrocomputing or language.racket.
Exactly. Digging deeper than just a keyword search.
Then there's a bit on privacy and Tor-only stuff.
Yeah. Privacy and Tor-only federated repos. Mentions DarkGit, a Git host only on Tor. OnionShare for anonymous file sharing. ZeroNet, another decentralized platform.
More specialized needs, perhaps.
For sure. And emphasizes you need the Tor browser to access .onion sites.
Right. What about finding projects from less obvious places?
That's the academic indie other hidden sources section. Look at places like IE Software. Check ArcSec papers for code links.
Research papers often have code now.
They do.
Yeah.
Also, Hacker News Show, HM Threads, Indie Hackers, Product Hunt's open source section, places where creators share new things.
Broadening the search beyond just code platforms.
Yeah. Then it brings it back to practical application with personal automation workflows.
Using these tools to automate your own life.
Kind of. Using ArchiveBox to automatically save websites you browse. Using Gist Backup for your GitHub gists.
Setting up your own little archiving system.
Exactly. It even gives that Zards command again for bulk cloning, maybe as part of a daily script, and provides a systemed timer example for Linux users.
To automatically sync your local Git repos every day.
Precisely. Build your own automated backup and update system for the code you care about.
That's actually really powerful. Taking ownership.
It is. And the last couple of sections give pro tips for discovery and mention some additional rare tools.
Pro tips like
Browsing old mailing list archives, tons of history there. Joining IRC or Matrix channels for specific projects or topics. Using RSS feeds religiously for releases and blogs.
going deeper into the communities.
Right. And tools like Rapology, which tracks software versions across different Linux distros and package managers. OpenDild service for building packages for multiple platforms. Integrating download managers like UGet. Using rsync effectively. Even a Wayback Machine downloader.
There's important tools for managing and finding information.
Yeah, it really drives home the idea of this as an open knowledge treasure map you customize for yourself.
So choose your tools, mirror the repos you need, save the docs, set up sync jobs, keep exploring.
That's the essence of it. Build your own resilient personal knowledge system. Explore everywhere.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this all up,
Right.
it's clear there's just a staggering amount of free and open source potential out there.
Absolutely. Whether you want to build games, simulations, or just, manage your digital world better and discover cool new tech, the tools are there.
Many are completely free, ready to be used.
Which really brings us to the final thought, doesn't it, for you listening? Now that you know about all this stuff, these engines, these archival tools, these discovery methods.
What are you going to do with it?
Exactly. What amazing thing could you build? What fascinating project could you discover or preserve?
Maybe just start small. Download Godot. Try that first tutorial.
Or find one open source project you like and just clone it, archive it using ArchiveBox. Take that first step.
The potential really does feel limitless.
It really does.
Hopefully this deep dive gave you a good map of the territory and maybe sparked some ideas.
Yeah, let us know if there are specific areas you'd like us to explore more in the future. We're always curious about what you find interesting.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the deep dive.